and welcome to AI've Got Questions. I'm Stacey Epstein, your host. I'm a former CEO and four-time CMO, and I am in awe at how much AI is transforming our profession. I created this podcast to help expose some of the incredible new technologies and the amazing new ways we're doing work with AI in marketing and in go-to-market in general. I hope you enjoy the show. Here's the next episode. Today on the show, I'm excited to have Patrick Thompson, who is the co-founder and co-CEO of a company called Clarify. Now, for those of you that worked with me at Clarify back in the 90s, this is not the same. But as you put it, Patrick, you guys are bringing it back. You're bringing Clarify back.
That's correct. Yeah, no, thanks for having me as well. We are working on a CRM, effectively an autonomous CRM now, which helps teams, both sales and marketing, keep all their customer data up to date using AI. So nothing more fitting than bringing one of the legendary companies back to life.
Yeah, well, I don't know how legendary it was. People don't even seem to remember it. Maybe it was just a really long time ago. But yes, one of the very early CRM companies was called Clarify before it was even called CRM or before cloud. Well, it's great to have you on the show. Let's just start by having the listeners get to know you a little bit. Tell us about your background. You've done a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, no, definitely. I actually started my career in marketing, doing a lot more conversion rate optimization work back in the day, analytics experimentation, and then moving over into product design, product management. Worked in the Bay for many years, a variety of different companies. Started at EMC, then moved to Atlassian. On Atlassian, I was basically on the growth team there, building a lot of internal systems to actually drive virality, customer engagement internally, and then left to start a CDP company that was later acquired by Amplitude back in 2021. I was at Amplitude for the last 3 years before starting this company in the beginning of 2024. We're a very early stage startup, 21 people strong, venture funded, and it's been a wild ride the last 15 months.
Yeah, I'm sure. Even just your background at Atlassian alone, talk about a company that maybe even partly coined the term virality. What a great example of a PLG company. I think we all studied that company as we were learning how to be great marketers. So, and Amplitude as well. It's always nice to talk to somebody who understands what it's like to be a marketer. And as we were talking about earlier, it's just such an interesting time. There's so many new tools. And when I was kind of deciding, do I want to be a CMO again or do I want to do advisory? And I kept coming up with this opinion that all these legacy cloud providers they're just not going to be around and they're scrambling to reinvent themselves. And I am talking about the companies like Salesforce. I mean, in your category, some of the biggest, best companies are, I mean, we just saw this big acquisition that Salesforce made earlier this week. They're trying to figure out how they're going to be in this new world order. And yet the other side of it is that all the AI companies are so new and so young, it's hard to know what's really going to stick and what's going to be great. But I think 5 years ago, going after Salesforce, probably nobody would do that. But it sounds like maybe that's what you're doing. Is that big behemoth that you're out to replace?
No, it's definitely, I wouldn't even say that it's a 10,000 pound gorilla that we're going after, but it's funny, a lot of the customers that we work with are actually on HubSpot. When you maybe think about HubSpot, like every decade you have a new generational company in the CRM space, right? So you had Act and Siebel and then Salesforce and HubSpot, and it's been over a decade now since I'd say generational companies kind of come out to really help folks manage their sales and marketing process, which is akin to CRM, and we're very much in that category. So yeah, for what we're trying to build is the next generation of what Salesforce and HubSpot have done. Focus really on simplicity and making it easy to manage all your customer data, helping leverage AI to automate as much of the workflow as possible for teams. And this is something that, a lot of these existing incumbents are trying to bolt on or acquire their way into becoming an AI company. But you really have to think of it from the beginning with the right primitives and the right data model to begin with. And that's where really where we're focused on at Clarify.
Yeah, and we can't forget another of my CRM alma maters, which is Freshworks, which
Yep.
also kind of came at CRM from a different angle, more of the customer service angle, but certainly focused on simplicity. How do you define CRM? As some people, it's just sales and marketing. It sometimes includes customer service, customer success. What's your definition of CRM?
No, it's a fair question. So today we're very much focused on the active sales side, moving into the pre-sales side, as well as moving into the post-sales side. So the biggest challenge that a lot of organizations have in market is that they have dozens of tools in their go-to-market stack. So you might have something that your pre-sales team use, whether or not it's marketing or an outbound-led strategy with a tool like Outreach or Marketo, you name it. And then you have something that your post-sales team uses, which would be Gainsight or Catalyst, you name it. And then you have Salesforce kind of in the middle, which is kind of a glue trying to get everything to relate. And then CDP's kind of emerged on top to really be the band-aid layer on top of this, where you can move data back and forth between these systems. And we're really trying to focus on building the right platform so that your entire go-to-market team, whether or not that's pre-sales or in post-sales on the support and success side, and really have access to the system of record for all your customer data. We're building a unified platform, is what we like to describe for go-to-market teams.
So would you call it a native AI CDP? Because
Yeah.
I sort of think of a CDP as a unified platform. How would you define the difference?
Yeah, so CDPs are primarily focused a lot on two objects in particular, customer object and a user object. And then you have a bunch of event data associated with those objects. Whereas CRMs, you have a flexible data model where you can have many different types of objects that you're tracking. Support ticket as an example, account workspace as an example. And so when we think about CRM and CDP, at the core, the data model that we have is focused a lot on relational data, unstructured data, and then time series data. So we kind of, if you squint, really clarify as a CDP plus CRM kind of merged into one. And having spent the last 6 years building a CDP, selling that CDP to a much larger company, and then helping over 1,000 organizations implement CDPs, really the crux of it is that their CRM, a lot of that functionality should exist in the CRM, which is effectively how we built it. You shouldn't need a CDP if you have the right CRM with the right primitives.
And you mentioned some use cases that I would say, you know, are sort of bolt on to a CRM, at least in the Salesforce world. I mean, just go to App Exchange, or I don't even remember if they call it App Exchange anymore. Go to their
Yeah.
partner page and you see all the millions of different add-on use cases that companies have built. In fact, I worked for one of them. ServiceMax was a field service solution built on top of the what was then called the force.com data model. Are you trying to tackle lots of use cases, or are you really just building the foundational CRM platform that does core CRM functions and people can build field service and marketing automation and whatever they want on top of it?
Yeah, no, we're building Clarified to be a platform from the beginning, which means that when we think about how we build features and products on top of that platform, we also think about how an external consumer might be able to build a product or an extension into Clarify. As an example, I mean, we're very much in the earlier days of that, just getting the company up and running, getting customers successful, but very much think of ourselves as a platform, which means that, long term, we want a lot of other businesses building or integrating on top of us. We do think very clearly on the product side about how we're not just a CRM, right? We want to be able to build things like sales automation and marketing automation to clarify. We want to be able to build things like customer support and customer success to clarify. So these are all personas that we try to design for, but very much focused right now on the active sales side. And that we think that's the best use of how we can actually help the market is to automate a lot of the work that sellers do primarily, or even founders of early stage startups.
Yep. I just saw a post on LinkedIn the other day. I'll have to go back and figure out where I saw it, but it struck a chord with me. It talked about somebody who looked at their sales function and said, I want the most efficient sales function ever. And they polled their team and they asked them how they were spending their time. And the results came out, 10% writing notes and
Yeah.
updating records in Salesforce, and 5% researching lists for my next email outreach. And when it came down to it, the active selling and active closing was, I'll quote it wrong, but it was something like 15%. And this CRO said, this is crazy. These are talented salespeople. I want them to be spending 85% selling and closing. All of that administrative work that they're doing that is not necessarily strategic, I want to get rid of it. And it struck a chord with me because it's so true. The longer you've had a Salesforce implementation, the more complex and everyone's adding a field every other day and there's a new process every other day. Is that part of what you're solving, is getting reps back to selling versus all the administrative work?
Yeah, so I mean, even the data from Salesforce shows that 72% of a rep's time is actually on non-selling activities. Only 28% is actually
Crazy.
working with customers. So if
Crazy.
you think about the leverage that we can provide there with AI, right? How do we inverse it where the vast majority of the time you're working with customers, you're on customer calls, you're doing discovery, you're helping them be successful. And the rest of it's just the administrative burden of being a seller is just taken care of for you, right? And so when we think about kind of the future of the world, it's not AI replacing sellers. It's actually just giving them superpowers. Like, how do we make them better at being able to support more accounts, be able to effectively have higher quotas, have higher attainment? And so these are the things that we're really trying to focus on is actually just providing those superpowers just out of the box, right? I think the hardest part about CRMs today is it requires an entire operations team behind the scene,
Totally.
RevOps, sales ops, you name it, to get it up and running. And then again, the amount of friction required. I don't know when was the last time you actually used Salesforce, but at Amplitude, we were a Salesforce shop spending $1 million a year on Salesforce. And it's just so painful to use, right? And like that's why reps don't input data. Salesforce is not a solution that the reps love. It's a solution that their managers force them to use because they want to have accurate forecasts. And so most reps don't go into there until their manager yells at them. And so we're building a solution that effectively reps love to use, right? It's so easy to use. It's all automated for you that it just gets out of your way. And so both your manager wins as well as the rep wins.
So tell me, it's amazing, and it's been a long time since I logged into Salesforce. Thank God. And when I did, I was mostly looking at CMO dashboards, and even then, we were having to use multiple products to get what we needed, and still could never figure out attribution. But that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
Walk me through an example. I'm a sales rep. Like, what's a typical, I know what it's like a day in the life is now, which is what we just talked about. A lot of putting in notes and picking fields and updating forecasts and all of that administrative work, and not a lot of time selling. What's it like in the Clarify work?
Let me clarify, effectively, we're building an ambient agent, right? So you can think of Clarify as just running in the background as you do work, right? So every start of your day, you get a meeting brief that basically tells you who you're meeting with, what you're meeting about. It looks at all the historical data. So it looks at all the emails that you've exchanged with the customer, it looks at any of the previous calls you've had with the customer to kind of keep you up to speed. We also do AI research. So you know who you're talking to is more about them. So instead of having to jump into LinkedIn or have to do a Google query, effectively all that's kind of incorporated into the CRM. And so instead of having to spend 20, 30 minutes researching ahead of a call, it's just all there for you inside of Clarify. And then when you join the call, we automatically record the call, we transcribe it, we give you a summary of it, we automatically create tasks for you with due dates and assignees. And so again, it's like just a lot less work that you have to do because it's just running in the background. And then we also detect when a deal should be created. So we look at all the activity, we look at your historical data to be able to decide, hey, is there an opportunity that you should be tracking here? And then we automatically update fields as that deal progresses over time. So a lot of it's just running in the background. So you can, again, not have to worry about the manual data entry. And then over time, what we want to be building a lot more of is more next best action models. So like, what can you do to actually close this customer? What should you be doing? These nudges for the sellers to actually help progress the deal forward. And then the biggest thing that I used to complain about in the selling seat was just follow up. Once I've had a meeting with a customer, how do I follow up with them? How do I just keep on making the deal move forward? And that activity tracking, that cadence that typically a lot of sales leaders talk about is just really tracked directly and clarify. We help, draft emails, we do all that stuff for you.
Wow, awesome. So it's like, it's so much more than just taking away their administrative task, because let's be real, only a certain percentage of reps are actually spending time in the morning prepping and researching their day and understanding who they're calling and creating great follow-up emails and putting in tasks. Like that is administrative. It is also very strategic, and probably only the best reps are really doing that kind of work. And I think what you're saying is they come in and press a button, and all that extra work, which is incredibly valuable and makes them better sellers,
Yeah.
is at the ready for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about Clarify, effectively what we're doing today is it's a productivity solution for the rep, right? It makes them save hours out of the week on things that they know that they need to be doing that they're either not doing because they don't have time, or too many calls, or like effectively we just give that time back for them, right? So it's like they can go take on more calls, they can work with more customers. And again, this just all works just out of the box. So there's no configuration required, effectively batteries included. And I think a lot of folks have tried to do this with Salesforce, right? There's a lot of apps that have come out with kind of bolt-on solutions on top of Salesforce. But again, it's like you're having to buy yet multiple different solutions to do this, or it's all built on the same underlying primitives of Salesforce, which is kind of this broken data model.
Yeah. Let's talk about marketing a little bit. Our audience is, I think, it's probably all of go to market, but heavily skews toward marketers.
Yeah.
And certainly I can understand why marketers love this, and they're getting the data they need and they're getting the follow up on the leads that they send, and it's driving pipeline. But are there other key features that are especially powerful for marketing?
Yeah, 100%. So like, when you think about like just CDP use cases, right? So we have list and segmentation just built directly into the CRM. So, this sounds like it's a very nascent, so you like have to spend a lot of time working with list management and building out segmentation. But we have things like natural language queries, so you can just define a filter, like find me all companies that we've talked to in the last 30 days but haven't created a deal, and I want to go send them a campaign. Or we're doing a field event in Seattle. Find me all CMOs or CROs who work at a Series B stage company or greater, and then we'll just go generate the segment for you, and then you can obviously enroll them in a campaign or as a CSV, do whatever you want with the underlying data. The other thing that's really powerful in Clarify is that we can take intent data. It's an event-driven system, so you can send us activities or other events from third-party tools. If you want to track website users, you can easily send us that data as well, and then be able to build lists based off people who viewed your pricing page or who have trialed your product but didn't convert. And so all this stuff, this dynamic nature of all the data, both the relational data and the time series event data, makes it so you can build effectively powerful audiences that you can market to.
Nice. Wow, you really are covering a lot of different product areas with one platform, and it's amazing that AI helps us do these kinds of things, because why do we need a whole 12-person rev ops team implementing multiple solutions and managing them and making them talk together when sounds like I can get multiple functions that I need both across sales and marketing in one place.
Yeah, no, it's definitely after spending 6 years. So we built an internal solution like this at Atlassian, which was, Jay Simons, who was the president of Atlassian at the time, attributed to like one of the major growth levers for the business, which was this behavioral audience segmentation system as effectively a CDP. It allowed us to do the right message to the right time to the right person. And effectively, we're building the same technology at Clarify. We started very much kind of the sales side, because we just see AI as a huge driver of innovation there, but slowly moving more into marketing and sales automation as well, so that we can kind of, again, help teams be able to convert customers better, help sellers, help marketers be able to send the right message to the right person. And again, the biggest challenge that organizations have is just this data is siloed across a dozen tools.
Yeah.
So you never have kind of consolidated view of the customer. That whole customer 360 is an ephemeral thing that just doesn't exist within most organizations.
Yeah.
And we're trying to solve that by building the right platform to begin with. So it's super ambitious, but it's been very fun to work on.
Yeah, I bet. There's a reason everybody claims to be customer 360, because it adds such tremendous value. But most companies that say that are mostly just making big claims.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny every time you say Clarify. I mean, that was my first sales job. I sold at Clarify. I would have loved to have had this when I was
Yeah.
there. Okay, just a couple more questions. One, what's your target market? Are you selling to small companies, big companies? I know you're early.
Yeah.
What kind of customer are you looking for right now?
Our ICP is early stage B2B SaaS companies primarily. We also work with a bunch of venture funds as well. So those are the two areas that we spend a lot of time working with. The solution's very generalized, so it works with other SMB businesses as well. But primarily our expertise, our background is in B2B SaaS. So that's where we spend a lot of our time today.
Makes sense. I always say if I were starting a company now or running a marketing sales function now, I would do as much of it as possible with AI. So this is a great place for people to go for the big chunk of what sales and marketing does every day. Last question, where is this all heading? We are such a pivotal point in our lives as marketers and leaders within SaaS, and AI is so amazing. What's your vision? Where is this all heading?
Yeah, I think the best marketers will learn how to leverage these tools. It's just technology at the core to be able to be more productive, to be able to create better experiences, to be able to create better campaigns generally than those who have been doing it the old way. So this is very similar to engineering, where you have a bunch of engineers who are adopting the latest technology to be more productive at their jobs, right? And so I think the corollary on the go-to-market side is very much there. And so when we think about how we build at Clarify, we want to provide the same level of excellence and support to the go-to-market functions as they're getting from, the cursors and the clouds of the world out there as well on the coding side. And so a lot of what we're doing is around like personalization and making it so that you can be able to service your customer better. And so we talk a lot about that internally, but a lot of what we're doing right now is just getting the right foundation in place and starting to build out these kind of applications on top of the platform to be able to help consolidate what that core workflows look like across all these go-to-market functions today. So we're still very early. It's going very well, but I'd expect the next like 2 or 3 years, you're going to see us and many bigger companies out there really just consolidating that go-to-market stack for them.
Yep, that's amazing. Well, it's been great getting to know you. I'm sure I will see you with much success in the future and would love to check back in and see how it's going in the future. How can interested people get in touch with you and Clarify?
Yeah, you can check us out at clarify.ai or reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is Patrick Thompson and look forward to helping you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining AI've Got Questions. Please follow or subscribe and share it with a fellow marketer because figuring out AI is better with a friend.